Imagine a typical morning. You're drinking coffee, checking your email, and outside the window, a second sun begins to rise. It's not dawn, it's a cosmic wanderer traveling toward us for millions of years to change the history of the planet in a matter of seconds. In moments like these, everything that once seemed important, your career, your mortgage, your new gadgets, turns to dust. Fear grips cities, but panic is your worst enemy. The main question, can you survive a meteorite falling to Earth? Find out at the end of the video. The myth that we learn about a disaster years in advance often shatters the harsh reality of astronomy. Sometimes monitoring systems detect an object only days or even hours before impact. Once the government officially confirms the threat, you'll have very little time. The first stage is information chaos. Thousands of fake news will appear online, and communications will begin to fail due to network congestion. Your task in these first hours is to avoid running with the crowd onto the clogged highways. If the asteroid is large, roads will become traps, trapping people in their cars with no room to maneuver. First, assess your location relative to the expected impact point. If you're at the epicenter, your chances are slim. But if you're hundreds of kilometers away, the fight begins. The most important thing now is to pack an emergency kit, a supply of water, and find a safe shelter. Forget suitcases with clothes. You only need medications, water filters, documents, and high-calorie food. Time is running out, and every decision now determines your future. To survive, you need to understand what you're facing. An asteroid the size of a football field can wipe out a metropolis, leaving only a molten crater in its place. A kilometer-sized rock will have global consequences, affecting entire continents. An asteroid impact isn't just an explosion, it's an instantaneous release of colossal energy, comparable to thousands of nuclear weapons. At the point of impact, the temperature will be higher than on the surface of the sun. The rock instantly vaporizes, turning into a superheated gas under enormous pressure. The falling velocity is tens of kilometers per second, creating a powerful compression of the atmosphere in front of the object even before it touches the surface. Even if the asteroid explodes in midair, as happened in Chelyabinsk or over Tunguska, the resulting shockwave is capable of demolishing buildings within a radius of many kilometers. You must understand, the danger comes in layers. First comes light, then heat, then the shockwave, and finally, precipitation. Knowing this sequence gives you a tactical advantage. Your survival strategy depends on how far you are from ground zero. The first thing that will reach you after a flash appears in the sky is thermal radiation. It travels at the speed of light, outpacing any sounds or warnings. If you see a flash brighter than the sun, do not look at it under any circumstances. You will instantly burn your retinas and go blind. You have literally seconds to take cover. The heat from a large asteroid's impact can ignite dry grass, trees, and even the paint on buildings hundreds of kilometers from the epicenter. The best shelter at this stage is a deep basement, a subway station, or a solid concrete building without windows. If you are outdoors, seek any dense shade, a deep ditch, or a solid concrete wall. Cover exposed skin with thick clothing, preferably made of natural fabrics like cotton or wool, which do not melt on the skin, unlike synthetics. The firestorm may not last long, but its power is enough to turn a city into a blaze. Your goal is to ride out this heat peak in safety. Remember, a bright light is always followed by a shockwave, and this is just the beginning of the ordeal. When the heat subsides a bit, the real destructive force arrives, a supersonic shockwave. This is a wall of compressed air that moves faster than sound, literally obliterating everything in its path. The biggest, and unfortunately fatal, mistake people make is running to the windows to see what happened. When the shockwave reaches the building, the glass will turn into thousands of deadly small fragments, flying at the speed of a bullet. These fragments are the main cause of injuries at long distances from the blast. If you are indoors, stay away from windows, mirrors, and heavy cabinets. The ideal place is an interior hallway, a bathroom, or the space under a massive oak table. Open your mouth to equalize the pressure and protect your eardrums from the inevitable rupture. There may be more than one shock wave. Often the main one is followed by a reverse wave, when the surrounding air tries to fill the vacuum created in the center. Buildings may not begin to collapse immediately, but after the second or third vibration. Don't rush to leave your shelter immediately after the initial roar. Wait out the main chaos inside. Most of our planet is covered in water, so the likelihood of an asteroid impacting in the ocean is much higher than on land. But this doesn't make things any easier for humanity. The impact of a massive object in water causes a tsunami of a magnitude unprecedented in civilization. It's not just a high wave, it's a colossal wall of water, hundreds of meters high, moving at the speed of a jet. If you live in a coastal area and receive news of an ocean impact, your only slim chance is to immediately evacuate as far inland as possible. An altitude of 50 meters above sea level can prove useless. You should seek out mountains, high plateaus, or elevated areas protected by terrain. The danger of a tsunami is that the water can travel tens of kilometers inland, destroying all infrastructure and carrying with it the debris of ships, buildings, and uprooted trees. Even if the first wave seems small, it could be followed by more powerful swells. Returning to shore will be deadly for several weeks due to toxic mud and destruction. If you survive the first few hours, the longest and most grueling phase begins, the impact winter. Impact releases millions of tons of dust, vaporized rock, and soot from forest fires into the atmosphere. These particles envelop the planet in a dense, impenetrable layer that blocks sunlight. A global, abrupt cooling will occur. Temperatures could drop by 15 to 20 degrees Celsius across the entire planet, even in the tropics. Fatal problems with agriculture will arise. Plants will stop growing without sunlight, leading to the rapid death of livestock and a total food shortage. Darkness can last for months or even years. During this period, heat, independent power sources, and food reserves become the main resources. Electricity grids will cease to function almost immediately. You will have to get used to living in perpetual twilight. Regular solar panels will become useless pieces of plastic. The air will be filled with fine dust, which is extremely dangerous for lungs and equipment. Going outside without a high-quality respirator will be slow suicide. Psychologically, this is the most difficult test, an endless gray night. Modern people are accustomed to water always flowing from the tap and fresh food lying on store shelves within walking distance. After an asteroid impact, this comfortable reality will disappear forever. Logistics chains will be instantly disrupted. Fuel will become more expensive than gold, and soon will disappear completely from circulation as factories cease to function. You will find yourself in a harsh world where only simple mechanical things function. Electronic money in banks will turn into useless numbers on dead servers. During this period, a brutal struggle for the remaining resources begins. Large cities will become the most dangerous places on the planet due to hunger, lack of sewerage, and looting. The best strategy is to team up with trusted people, neighbors, or close relatives. Protecting supplies and maintaining a simple daily life in winter conditions alone is practically impossible. You'll have to reclaim the forgotten skills of your ancestors: how to filter water using improvised means, how to heat a room without gas, how to treat wounds without modern hospitals. Barter exchange of goods will completely replace trade. Tools and seeds will become the new global currency. Many people die in disasters not from physical injuries, but from a complete loss of the will to live. The sight of a destroyed familiar world, the loss of loved ones, and constant oppressive fear break the human psyche in a matter of days. In a global crisis, deep depression is a virtual death sentence. To survive, you need to maintain strict internal discipline. A daily routine, planning, and setting small, achievable goals are what keep your mind sharp. Today, fix a leaky roof. Tomorrow, find a new water source. The day after tomorrow, organize a 24-hour watch. Avoid panic mongers and those who sow despair. In a crisis, such people become dead weight, dragging the entire group down. It's important to maintain a human face, but at the same time be firm when it comes to ensuring everyone's safety. A community with a clear hierarchy and leadership has a much better chance of long-term success than a disorganized crowd. The art of survival is, above all, control of one's emotions and a cool head in any situation. Many dream of high-tech, self-contained bunkers, but for most this remains a pipe dream. However, even an ordinary basement can be prepared for a worst-case scenario. The most important requirement for your shelter is airtight and strong floors. It must reliably protect you from a possible building collapse from above and from the penetration of corrosive dust from outside. Make sure you have at least 2 independent exits to avoid being buried alive under a pile of rubble. The ventilation system should be equipped with filters, even simple homemade ones made of activated carbon and layers of dense fabric. An emergency water supply of at least 3 liters per person per day and a supply of canned food should be stored inside. Don't forget basic sanitation. A lack of hygiene in an enclosed space will quickly lead to disease outbreaks. A radio powered by batteries or a hand-cranked generator is also vital. This may be your only way to hear the voice of a surviving civilization and learn important news. Now let's move on to specific actions that can save your life in a critical moment. First, always carry a survival kit, a sharp knife, a reliable lighter, a first aid kit, and a powerful flashlight. Second, remember the rule of 3. A person can live 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter in extreme cold, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Prioritize in that order. Third, build a supply of water filters or learn how to make them from sand and charcoal. They're more important than food. Fourth, prepare clothing. It should be multi-layered, durable, and warm. Fifth, build a library of paper books on medicine and agriculture. Digital knowledge will disappear along with electricity. 6. Learn to use radio communications to coordinate with other groups. 7th, have a large supply of antiseptics and basic antibiotics. 8th, store vegetable seeds in airtight containers for future use. 9th, plan an evacuation plan and a meeting point for the whole family in advance. And 10th, never let fear paralyze your will to act.